Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you how to create an arm for a catapult. So we're going to go ahead and start our sketch on the top plane as we usually do. And the first object that we're going to create is the arm itself. So we want the arm, and then there's going to be a payload part where you actually put the ball, and then there'll be an axle that will attach to the main frame. So there's really kind of three main components to this. Like I said, we're going to be starting with a center point rectangle to make the arm itself. Now, depending on your specific diagram, that will determine the dimensions for these. I'm just going to set this to be 100 by 20 because that's perfect size. And so that's the first part. So part one, good. Now, I'm not going to extrude this until I finish the other two parts as well. So the next thing that I need then is a circle, and that's going to hold the actual ball. So I want that circle to be on there. And now you can see that I have what's starting to look like this arm. So we're going to obviously put the axle down here. But before we do that, we actually want to cut out all of these extra lines that we don't want. So I'm going to use my trim tool to cut these out because they are not necessary. And now we can see that we have this kind of spoon that's going to be able to launch our ball. So the last thing, oops, sorry, we need to be in that sketch one more time. The last thing we need to do is actually create the area where, well, we'll do that actually, sorry, we'll do that after we extrude this. So we'll go ahead and extrude this. How thick do we want it? Again, it depends on your specific design. I'm going to go ahead and make that 10 millimeters thick. Yours might be thicker, might be thinner. Again, it just depends on your specific design. But then the last thing we need to do before we create this axle is we actually need to create an area on our spoon where the ball would sit. So we'll do one more sketch, this time on the face of the extrude, and then we'll create a center point circle that's centered at the same circle as before. And we'll make this, so the ball has a diameter of 20. We don't want it to be exactly 20, we want it to be less than 20. So maybe, I think 18 would be good, a good measurement. So we'll go ahead and dimension that to be 18. And we will remove some of this material so that our ball actually sits in there nicely. 25 millimeters, no, maybe 5 millimeters, that would be good. Okay, so you can see that now we have this place where the ball is going to sit. We have the arm. The last thing that we need then is the physical axle that's going to attach and rotate with the base. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and create a sketch. And actually, we're not going to do it on the extrude itself. We're actually going to do it on the right plane. And you'll see why here in just a second. So again, I'm going to be creating a sketch on the right plane. And this sketch is going to have a circle. Where do I want the circle? Well, I want the circle to be right here at the bottom of my arm. And I really kind of want it to be on the exact end. So I need to go ahead and add in some different constraints and dimensions. The first thing I want to do is I want to dimension this circle. And I don't want it to have a radius of 9. That's going to be way too big. So 5 would be a decent diameter for the axle itself. But then we need to put it a specific distance away from the bottom. And so in this case here, if our diameter is 5, that means the radius, or the distance between this end and just the middle of the circle, needs to be 2.5. So you can see now I have this here. And the last dimension is I want to make this in the very center. So if this is 5 millimeters thick, or 10 millimeters thick, half of that is 5. And now I know that this axle is located right in the middle of the bottom of that base. Okay, so now I have that confirmed. You can see that I have this sketch here. So now I'm going to go ahead and extrude this. But I'm going to do a different type of extrude, because if I only do it going one direction, like we usually do, well then I'm not going to have anything on the left side, and I don't want that. So we actually need to change this from blind to symmetric. And now you have the opportunity to make this as big or as small as you need. So remember, the maximum that this could be, the maximum is the 80 millimeters wide. That's the maximum it could be. If you have some caps on the end or something like that, you're probably going to be doing this somewhere in the 70s, maybe even like 74, just depending on what your base looks like. So you'll need to adjust that based on your design. But once you confirm that, then you'll see that you will have this arm that can then rotate up and down on a base that you should have already created. Alright, good luck with this. Looking forward to seeing the final design.